on that is the MMC for Police Oversight and Community Safety, Reagan as well as Roberto Quintas, who is the MMC for Urban Mobility. A very good afternoon to you, gentlemen, and thank you very much for your time this afternoon. Mr. Allen, let's start with you. What is the latest information at your disposal this hour?
Thank you so much for bringing us into this particular conversation. Just the previous speaker, I want to echo again that it's across education, it's across social development, and our primary healthcare facilities that have been impacted as a result of this strike. We have seen communities now not having the basic right to a number of services. So in that regard, I am delighted that we are able to provide an update in this regard. An hour ago, I came back from the airport approach road, and that particular road has now been cleared. That is where the one murder occurred. I can also confirm that I've had an engagement with our district police commissioners, including here in the city of Cape Town, and I can confirm that we have seen 63 murders, 63 arrests that has been made. We have also seen that 162 criminal matters have also been registered. We have a deployment of 1,500 law enforcement officers. That includes the South African Police Service, including our public order policing, to ensure that whenever there's sporadic incidences that do pop up, we will be able to quickly respond to it, because we would never want lawlessness, we would never want anarchy. And from my side, I have seen that many of our roads are open, many of our communities are free of any looting, but where there is such matters, we are quickly able to operationalize the deployment so that we can ensure that our communities are safe.
Mr. Quintas, according to your portfolio, what is the latest information at your disposal this hour?
So in terms of the road network, which largely falls under the city of Cape Town within the city metro, I can confirm, as Minister Allen has indicated, that all of our freeways are currently open. Finally, we've had disruptions along some of our major highways in Cape Town since this morning, with taxis blockading, preventing access, and then, of course, wholesale violence being meted out on those trying to transport scholars or trying to simply get to work. Furthermore, in terms of the public transport offering of the city, of the city of Cape Town in general, for example, Praza, which does not fall under our jurisdiction, is running at about roughly 80% of its services. So the train option is available. I do understand that 2 of their vehicles were damaged. Their actual motor vehicles that they use to transport staff sustained damages today. But the train service is running at about 80%. Golden Arrow bus services likewise is doing better, with roughly about 90% of their routes fully operational, with some deviations and stops in place for turnaround as they approach areas of extreme volatility. The My City bus network likewise is operational, with the exception of the N2 Express Khayelitsha and N2 Express Mitchell's Plain. And then the city of Cape Town to Century City is suspended until further notice. We hope that to be up and running very soon now with with all highways being open. The Century to Umarumba is unfortunately closed due to the proximity to Dunoon. And furthermore, there are some deviations in place for the Hart Bay route on the My City, with deviations in place to avoid Hangberg and Imazamayetu, where there has been some incidents of stone throwing. But otherwise, the route, the My City, is fully operational, particularly along the Atlantis corridor, which of course moves a tremendous amount of our working residents of the city of Cape Town.
Sure. The wholesale violence, Mr. Quintas, that you speak of, what does intelligence in the West End suggest in terms of who is behind this, when you've got so many people that are not able to get to work, are not able to get to school?
So really, I think it's always the right practice to not really speak into any detail until there's confirmed reports. I don't want to speak in allegations or in suspicions. I would rather know what the facts are and then speak on them as they eventuate. I do know, as the Minister said, there have been many arrests throughout the course of today, and I believe more are coming. But what I will say is that the City of Cape Town does not see this type of disruption and wholesale violence and the infringement of the rights of residents to move from place to place for whatever purpose as we do when there is a taxi strike. There is no other time in the events calendar of the year, so to speak, for the City of Cape Town that we see any of this disturbance of the peace to this level other than when the major taxi industry players decide that they're going to withhold their services from commuters who need them the most to get to work, to earn a living, to put food on their table, with industry trying to recover post-COVID. They can return to work as the taxi industry whenever they want. Right now, if it was within their ambit to do so, they're withholding their services from those who need them, and we only see this kind of wholesale destruction around us when the taxi industry decides to go on strike.
Mr. Quintas, are you laying the blame squarely at the door of the taxi operators? Does the city shoulder some responsibility or some of the blame in terms of those commuters having been robbed and those children having been robbed of access to education?
So as I said, the public transport that the city is responsible for and our other transport partners, Golden Arrow and Prasa, are running at optimum. They are running at absolute optimum to provide those services where they are necessary. The movements around townships and informal settlements is largely a minibus taxi public transport offering, because we would like to and do try to see the minibus taxi industry as a vital component of our public transport ecosystem. Now, we have been working, myself and the MEC or Minister for Mobility in the province, we have been meeting on a bi-weekly basis with the taxi leadership to try and iron out some of their grievances and to try and map ways forward. They withdrew from that process just over a week ago, formally in writing, which to me indicated that something was looming in terms of strike action. And to be completely honest, there is misinformation being peddled by the industry that their vehicles are being impounded due to the city's traffic bylaw. That is unequivocally untrue. Not one public transport vehicle, from minibus taxis to metered taxis to e-hailing services, have been impounded as a result of the bylaw. Vehicles have been impounded according to the NLTA, where the city has jurisdiction to impound as part of national legislation, and they've been impounded for matters of commuter and other road user safety. I'm referring to seriously unroadworthy vehicles that should not be on the road, drivers who have been given the keys to operate a minibus when they are under the influence of alcohol or do not even have a basic driver's license, let alone a public driver's permit, nor an operational license.
Okay.
We also are impounding consistently for aggressive and reckless driving that endangers the lives of commuters and endangers the lives of other motorists, as well as people bolting through red lights, bolting over through stop streets, or mounting curbs, pavements, and driving in lanes that are dedicated for emergency vehicles only.
Okay. Mr. Allen, as we conclude the conversation, we did speak on the channel to the Chief of Health in the Western Cape, and you mentioned the hospitals also being impacted, and he mentioned that in the main it's public hospitals that have been impacted, including workers that are not able to make it to work. And so it has been suggested that this is happening on one side of the divide. We are in Nyanga for our viewers this afternoon, and there are hundreds of children who are on the streets who are not in school. What does this tell you as a city, especially when you speak of future planning to buffer these kinds of communities from such?
Thank you so much for this particular question. I want to be very clear in this regard. We have seen in the last quarter, when the crime stats were released, that the Western Cape had a double-digit decrease in the murder rate. A number of crime categories, we are seeing a consistent reduction. We are making headway, but we will be the first province to say we know we have a long way to go. So despite murder and crime increasing across our country. Here in our province, we are seeing reductions, a double-digit reduction in the murder rate. But we can never, under no circumstances, condone any lawlessness. So from my side, I'm wanting to see our oversight over the South African Police Service lead to better service delivery, but also so that communities are ultimately safer. We would want none of our children to ever be outside of school. Here in our province, we have the highest retention rate amongst learners in the entire country as well. So we would want to ensure that our learners are in school where they ultimately get the help and assistance. You'd also be aware an ambulance over the weekend was also torched, and that particular ambulance was potentially on the way to go and help a person that needed emergency care. So we are, as a government, engaging social development. We are engaging health and education to ensure that we are able to fast track the discussions, but also to see how we help and assist within the government and with all our stakeholders. It's very clear, and as per the MMC Quintas' remarks now, we are seeing an increase in violence and in crime directly when this particular strike was announced, and we are definitely keeping an eye on the investigations that will also be conducted based on those that were arrested, because we would never want any person to get away with lawlessness. We have a country that we need to save. We have a province that we need to make sure that is rescued from criminal elements, and we remain committed to that.
Thank you very much, gentlemen, for your time this afternoon. MEC Reagan Allen, Police Oversight and Community Safety. MMC Roberto Quintas for Urban Mobility.